There's a stretch of southeastern Massachusetts, roughly 200 square miles of swamp, forest, and small towns that locals whisper about when the lights go out. They call it the Bridgewater Triangle, a place where headlights glaze over into the floating orbs, where crews report strange lights above the trees, where shadows move like people but leave no footprints. Ghosts, Bigfoot-like creatures, thunderbirds in the night, unmarked craft that hum in the dark, and a darker undercurrent, stories of ritualistic crimes, animal mutilations, and long-ago battles that left the land with uneasy history. Tonight we're going to go inside the triangle. The term Bridgewater Triangle was coined by cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman in the late 1970s to describe a roughly triangular area of southeastern Massachusetts centered on two towns of Bridgewater, Freetown, and Brockton. About 200 square miles of fen, swamp, and low hills. The Hockomock Swamp, the wet, dark heart of the triangle, is one of the largest freshwater swamps in Massachusetts. And its name is Algonquin word, meaning a place where spirits dwell. They even have puckwedgies, small supernatural tricksters from Algonquin folklore. The Wampanoag people warn that these creatures are dangerous and deceptive, known to lure travelers astray, cause harm, or vanish in a puff of mist. Many believe they still inhabit the Freetown State Forest, guarding it with mischievous and sometimes deadly intent. From haunted forests to cursed swamps, from UFOs to shapeshifters, the Bridgewater Triangle remains one of America's most paranormal hotspots, a place where ancient legends, lost spirits, and cosmic mysteries collide. The land that now creeps into the Triangle's stories has a long layered past. Long before English settlers arrived, the Wampanoag and other native peoples used the swamp and surrounding lands for hunting and refuge. During King Philip's War in the 1670s, the swamp's tangle of waterways and peat bogs served as a strategic stronghold, and afterwards it earned a reputation among colonists as a dangerous, uncanny place. Over the centuries, small towns, isolated farms, and institutions, like old one-room schoolhouses and psychiatric hospitals, collected their own private histories of tragedy and rumor, and those histories braided into the Triangle's modern folklore. Reports in the Triangle cluster into reoccurring themes, the kinds of things that keep curiosity alive. Ghosts in haunted buildings, abandoned schools, old mills, wings of psychiatric hospitals have yielded encounters, footsteps, cold spots, and apparitions reported by locals and visitors. Unidentified aerial phenomena, bright balls of light that float through the trees, strange craft reported at night, and pilots and motorists who swear the sky didn't look the same afterward. Cryptids and Bigfoot type of creatures, humanoids, ape-like figures glimpsed near ponds and in the swamp's edge. Occasional reports of enormous birds, thunderbirds, with wingspans that people say were wrong for any local raptor. One report sighting by law enforcement officer of a large winged creature has circulated in regional reports. Animal mutilations and rumors of cult activity. A series of mutilated livestock and other animals have been reported across the Triangle's towns over the decades, with some incidents described in press accounts and local lore as ritualistic. Law enforcement files from certain years include calls to investigate the grotesque discoveries on farms and in clearings. Witnesses describe unidentified flying objects, glowing orbs, strange metallic crafts, and bright spheres of light that hover silently over the trees before vanishing without a trace. Locals tell stories of unnatural animal sightings, beasts that shouldn't exist there, panthers and bears where none are known to roam, giant snakes slithering through the wetlands, enormous black dogs with glowing red eyes that stalk the forest edge before disappearing into thin air. Then there are paranormal humanoids, shadowy figures drifting between the trees, poltergeists, apparitions, and even Bigfoot-like creatures roaming the Hockomock Swamp. Some have even claimed to see massive winged monsters with wingspans stretching over 12 feet. Between 1979 and 1980, the city of Fall River, Massachusetts became the backdrop for a horrifying string of murders that would fuel the flames of America's satanic panic. Between October 79 and February of 1980, 3 young women, all caught in the margins of society, were brutally murdered in what authorities believed to be ritualistic murders connected to a satanic cult operating in the shadows of Fall River. The first victim was Doreen Levesque, just 17 years old. On the night of October 13, 1979, she was last seen working the streets near Pleasant Street. The next morning, joggers discovered her body beneath the bleachers of Dimian Regional Vocational Technical High School. She had been beaten and sexually assaulted, her life ending in unspeakable violence. No one was ever convicted for her murder, and her killer remains a ghost in the city's history. Weeks later came the second victim, Barbara Raposa, a 19-year-old single mother struggling with addiction. She vanished on November 7th of 1979, last seen near downtown Fall River. Her body would be found months later on January 26th of 1980, deep in the woods outside the city, mutilated and left to decay in the cold earth. Her boyfriend, Andy Maltese, was later convicted but sentenced to life without parole for her killing. But it was the third murder that truly sealed Fall River's reputation for horror. The next victim, Karen Marsden, 20 years old, was known to police as a sex worker and possible witness in the Levesque case. In early February of 1980, Marsden confessed she feared for her life, terrified of a man she called the Devil. On February 8th, she vanished. Her partial remains, a portion of her skull, would be discovered 2 months later in nearby Westport. Investigators eventually tied the murder to a small group said to be practicing satanic rituals in the forests and abandoned mills of Fall River. 2 people would be convicted: Carl Drew, who was sentenced to life without parole, and Robin Murphy, who testified against him in exchange for a reduced sentence. Murphy would later recant her confession, claiming that she had lied to only secure a deal. She would be released from prison last year. These killings became one of the most infamous and disturbing cases in Massachusetts history. They revealed the dark underbelly of a city already caught within the eerie borders of the Bridgewater Triangle, where superstition, crime, and the supernatural seem to intertwine. Even today, many locals whisper that the evil that gripped Fall River in 1980 never truly left. That something ancient and malignant still lingers in the forests, watching, waiting, remembering. Many have gone missing in the area, in the woods that surround the triangle, never to be seen again. And many have made connections between that and the missing 411 cases throughout the United States. Stories of devil worship and ritual cults have circulated around the triangle for decades. During the height of the late 20th century satanic panic, any strange crime or unexplained death could be folded into the narrative of secretive cells operating in the woods. In some criminal cases linked to the area, prosecutors and police alleged ritual elements. Separating criminal fact from folklore is difficult here, and the power of the idea of a satanic cult sometimes did more to inflame communities than to clarify the evidence. With everything that has taken place on this land, from before colonial days and on, something very sinister and mysterious is taking place still today. Whether it is residual activity or not will depend on what you believe, but locals will tell you, do not go out into the swamp or the woods alone. It is said that ghosts will use blinking lights to draw you out into the darkness, where you will never be seen or heard from again. This place is very real, so if you're up in that area, let us know what you've seen.